Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of the Run Up the Score podcast. I'm your host, Noah Willard, joined today by special guest, Tobey Juliano. What's up, Tobey?
What's going on, guys? I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so real quick before we go ahead and run up the score in today's podcast, I'm going to need you guys to go up and run up the follow button on whichever streaming platform you're listening on, as well as rate us 5 stars. It would be appreciated. We have quite a few things we want to talk about today. Today we have the play-in starting. So we're going to talk about a little bit of a play-in preview, give some predictions, talk about contenders and pretenders this year in the NBA playoffs. We're going to preview our favorite playoff series, and maybe if there's time, we'll have a little bit of an MVP conversation. So let's move right on to the Eastern Conference playoff games. First up, we have number 7 Heat versus number 8 Hawks. What are your thoughts on that, Tobey?
I mean, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to come down to some veteran play. And this, I don't know, sometimes in the one-game matchups, you can try to favor a younger team who's more wild with their play style, but I think the veteran team will know more how to do down the stretch of the game.
Yeah, this was a Heat team that I wasn't super high on coming into the season. So I'm honestly not surprised to see them in the play-in, but the Hawks have definitely had their fair share of problems. I mean, it feels like both these teams all season, this has been an unsuccessful season for both of these teams. Both these teams obviously had playoff aspirations. It just feels like they can lose against any team, any given night. So.
I mean, I'm more shocked to see the Hawks here than I am the Heat because, I mean, DeJounte Murray, at least in my opinion, was a pretty big signing during the offseason, and I thought they were going to be at least a top 6 seed. The Nets, I'm shocked to see there. I mean, Durant left, but, they still got it done.
I mean, the Nets did have a pretty big lead, but, yeah, it was huge for the Nets to be able to hold on to that 6th seed, finishing only one game above the Heat. So, yeah, you're exactly right, though, with, the Heat's aspirations, making a finals a few years ago, conference finals last year. Obviously, 7 seed is not what they're looking for. And you're exactly right, the Hawks getting a DeJounte Murray this offseason and really kind of just squandering it. Who you got winning this game? 1-game elimination, who you got?
I see the Hawks jumping out to a decent lead in the first half, but Jimmy Butler, I got to go with the Heat by the end of the day.
I think I'm going to take the Heat as well. So I've got the Heat. We both got the Heat hitting the 7 seed, going up against Boston. A good little rematch. Have they played each other?
I think it's been every year in the last 3 years.
That's what I was about
at
to
some
say.
Point in the playoffs. Not like first-round series, but I think at some point in the playoffs.
So get a little rematch of last year's conference championship. I'm excited for that. Next up, we have the 9-10 matchup in the Eastern Conference between the Toronto Raptors and my Chicago Bulls. Who you got winning that one?
As much as I hate to side with you, I do think the Bulls are going to come away with a W. Even with the defense of Scotty Barnes, I just think offensively the Bulls are going to be a little bit too much to handle for them. Man,
it's been rough this year, man, as a Bulls fan. Finishing one game, well, I guess technically two games below 500. I mean, this is a Bulls team that, it's been hard to watch every game. But I will say, before the Patrick Beverley signing, I would have given this series to the Raptors, without a doubt. They've played great defense. I love their small ball lineup. I guess you can call it small ball when you run Pascal Siakam at the 5. So before that, I think I would have given it to the Raptors. I mean, call me a homer, but I'm going to take the Bulls as well. I think the Bulls are going to beat the Raptors. They've been the better team since the trade deadline. I think I'm going to take the Bulls to get into that second play-in game on Friday.
I respect the Bulls' take, but I am a huge – I just hate Patrick Beverley. I'll say it live on the podcast. I think Patrick Beverley is the most interchangeable role player on any team. He gets too much hype, and he's not even that good. That's just my opinion. But I think he gets talked. He's like Dillon Brooks. They're not even that good of a player. They get talked about more than they should. He'll help, but I'm not a fan of Patrick Beverley.
Man, people always say Patrick Beverley is one of those players. You love him if he's on your team. You hate him if he's not. So
exactly.
I hated him. I hated watching him play when he was on other teams. I loved him when he was in the Clippers that one year and locked down Kevin Durant. That was a lot of fun.
To watch.
But now that he's on my team, I'm full Patrick Beverley all the way. So we both have Bulls in that one. So next up, we have the final play-in game on Friday for the 8th seed. According to our predictions, both of us agree. We think it'll be the number 8 seed Atlanta Hawks versus the number 10 seed Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
I'll go first on this one. This is where I'm going to say the Bulls season ends. I think that the Bulls, after getting Patrick Beverley, they can beat any team on any given night. Yeah. They're just so sporadic, though. You never know when they're going to show up, when they're not. And in these one-game elimination type series, I think they're going to get it done against Toronto. I don't know. They just have not been able to put games together consistently throughout the whole season. I think that they fall apart against Atlanta. I think Atlanta gets the 8 seed here.
I mean, for basically the same reasons, but I do think the Bulls are going to win. I mean, I just think they've been playing so well offensively. And in a one-game matchup, I mean, I'm going to go with the Bulls, but it could go either way. I mean, I think we both agree the Bucks are going to sweep whoever wins that final play-in. I mean, the Bucks, there's no one in any play-in game that can actually guard Giannis, let alone anyone in the playoffs by themselves, probably.
Yeah,
so,
let me go on a rant here for a second too. I love the play-in game as like a standalone game, but it feels so pointless because whichever team wins the play-in game is just going to get swept or like 5-game, max 6-game series against this 1 or 2 seed. It's always going to be like that, and it's like teams feel like they have a chance to compete when they're racing for the 10 seed just to lose in the first round. I don't know.
I mean, I personally disagree from this aspect. I think a lot of people already aren't as tuned in to like the majority of the NBA season, and I think, at least from like a television standpoint, I think it's good for the NBA because it makes so many more of the games matter. Whereas once the 8 seed's locked in, there goes almost half the league. More of the games are just like unwatchable. Basically, they mean nothing. So
yeah. So when you look at the Bulls, all season long had a great defense. Kind of fell apart towards the end of the year, but it's crazy to see that the Bulls. I mean, let me pull up the ratings right now. The Bulls statistically were the 7th best defensive team in the NBA this year, and they were the 22nd best offensive team. I mean, how do you look at this team? I mean, I don't want to go too much on a Bulls talk, but it's just ridiculous how this team is completely pretty much flopped what you'd think they would be. But, I mean, at the end of the day, their offense is way too wishy-washy for what it should be. I think the Hawks get this done.
And the sad thing is when their offense is playing well, I mean, combined with their defense, I mean, great team. But they're so lukewarm game to game. You never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So you took the Bulls to win that game?
I do have the Bulls coming out of that.
And I've got the Hawks. So no surprises for me. Heat stay at 7, Hawks stay at 8 for me.
Yeah.
You have Heat at 7. You have Bulls at 8.
I do. And small little side rant, which again I think you'll have no disagreement with. Win the game, lose their first game or their second game.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the Bulls need to clean house after this year. I think they need to get.
Please, yeah.
I mean, I think DeRozan, you still have a little trade capital. I think borderline a little bit more for Vucevic, and you could get a pretty good haul for Levine.
The problem is they waited too long to trade DeRozan. He's on to the last year of a team-friendly contract. He's going to be in the last year of it. They just traded him this past year. You can convince a team to take 2 more years. But now you're telling a team, you want to give us a first-round pick for possibly 1 year of DeMar DeRozan? I don't know if you can convince a team to do that.
I don't think you could get a first for DeRozan anymore yet. I do think you could get a pretty good haul for Zach LaVine as well.
I'm unsure on Zach LaVine. I want to see us re-sign Kobe White. I don't know how to feel about Patrick Williams yet. I would like to see us re-sign Vucevic, actually, if we could get him on a team-friendly deal. But, I mean, they definitely need to gear more towards a rebuild or a retool. They can't just keep running back this same lineup. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump over to the Western Conference games. First off, we're going to have the games that are going to be premiering tonight. The 7-seed Lakers versus the number 8-seed Timberwolves. I'm going to let you start here, Toby. You used to be a Lakers fan. I'm going to let you start.
I'll just go. I'll start off with what's probably going to happen. The Lakers are probably going to win this game. I still think a close game.
Oh, hold on.
Okay?
Hold on. I know what Toby's about to say, so I'm going to go ahead and say the nickname I almost gave him when we started this podcast. Tobey Cold Takes Juliano. So go for it, Toby. Go on.
Let me just say this, okay? I think the hottest player coming into this game, everyone wants to go LeBron James this, Anthony Davis that. I think Anthony Edwards coming into this game is the hottest player coming in. He's not the best. He's probably not even top 3 coming into this game. But, I mean, he just put up a great game versus the Pelicans. Must win to even get into this spot. They were going to be the 9 seed. Karl Anthony Towns hitting on all cylinders. Now, Jaden McDaniels punching a wall and breaking his hand is not going to help the Timberwolves whatsoever. But this might be very controversial. I actually, in a one-game matchup, I think the Timberwolves play better without Gobert as a team. Now, Gobert obviously helps them a lot, but I think as a team, they play better without Gobert.
So, I'm going to say this right now. The Lakers are one of the hottest teams in basketball. The Timberwolves shot themselves in the foot. What was this, Sunday night? Was the last game of the season? Or Sunday evening, whatever. The Timberwolves shot themselves in the foot. Rudy Gobert is going to miss this game. It just came out today that he was suspended. So he's going to miss this game. I don't know I mean, Kyle Anderson's going to play. I don't really know where his head's at right now. Jaden McDaniels broke his hand. I mean, obviously rookie mistake. But, I mean, you look at Jaden McDaniels and Rudy Gobert. These are two of the best defensive players on this Timberwolves team. Rudy Gobert, obviously the anchor on defense. By the way, this is a defense that is barely above league average. Or, sorry, let me double-check the stats. They might be they are slightly below league average, actually, on defense. Yeah. They're losing their best perimeter defender in Jaden McDaniels, who's going to guard LeBron. They're losing their defensive anchor in Rudy Gobert, who's going to clog up the paint. This is a Lakers team that is also, like I said, clicking on all cylinders. After the trade deadline, they built a great team around Anthony Davis and LeBron, a team that can shoot. Really, honestly, I don't see any way that the Timberwolves win this game. Now, I get what you're saying. Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns can both go off any given night. Anthony Edwards has kind of proven that he's that guy. But who's stopping the Lakers? Those guys could put up 30 apiece, and I'm not sold on the Timberwolves winning this game.
Let me just say, he's not going to stop anyone, okay? But I think a key component in this game that a lot of people overlook night to night, Naz Reid has had a great year.
Naz Reid is awesome.
And I also think, again, he's not going to be able to stop Anthony Davis.
He's not a defensive center.
I think he could neutralize.
He's not
a defensive center, but, I mean, I'm talking about in the rebound game. Offensively, he's been great in the pick and roll this year. I mean, I think that's a key person to look at in this game.
I mean, he'll probably be starting, honestly. I mean, the biggest thing, obviously, losing Rudy Gobert is a big loss, but he'll be back for the second playing game, even if they lose this one. He'll be back for the playoffs if they win it.
I mean, they
don't have perimeter defending anymore. Jaden McDaniels was their stopper. He's gone.
I think if anything, they're going to have to outscore the Lakers, which
they're going to have to. They'll have to.
I mean, they'll have to, but I like from an offensive standpoint, I think Mike Conley could get, I think he could have an 8 to 12 point game. They can get that out of him. I think Ant's going to go for 30 plus, which is what he's been doing the last couple games. And then, I mean, it's probably going to come down to if Cat and Anthony combine anywhere from 60 to 70 points, I could see them pulling it out.
So the problem that I have with that is the Timberwolves already had a below average defense. The Timberwolves and the Lakers had about the same defense this year. The Lakers did get better defensively after the trade deadline. The Timberwolves just kind of stayed the same. The Lakers are still going to have Anthony Davis to lock down the perimeter, who, the numbers have been skewed all year because he hasn't played all year. Yeah. The Lakers' defense is great with Anthony Davis. LeBron is still an okay defender. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say he's elite, but he's still pretty good. So anyways, the Lakers' defense, it's not elite by any means, but it's going to be pretty decent. The Timberwolves already had a below-average defense, and they lost two very, very key defensive players. The Timberwolves' offense is only above average, slightly above average, and the Lakers' offense is, I'm looking at it right now, the Lakers have the sixth best offense in the league.
I mean, again, I agree with you, but Timberwolves are hot right now offensively. I mean, they put up, again, it might have been the Spurs, but they put up, I think it was 151 the other night. They can put up points. It's going to be a scoring battle.
You just used a game against the Spurs.
I'm just saying, it was recent. Yes, probably playing against reserves. Let's be honest, the whole Spurs team is reserves right now, okay? I mean, I think the only respectable player on that team is Keldon Johnson. But that's a side note right there.
Well, anyways, we have differing opinions about this. Well, you even said you think probably the Lakers will win. I just wanted to throw in a little bit of a cold take.
Hear me out. I make some bad bets, okay? But if as a betting man, I would take the Lakers. But I personally believe that, number one, I think we can both agree it'll be a close game. Okay?
I don't think
Lakers
so.
Maybe
I think the Lakers kick their butts. I think the Lakers. We're gonna talk. Later in the show, we have a segment called Contender or Pretender. Just a little side note. I'm going to have the Lakers in the contending category. We can talk about that when we get there. Okay. Anyways, we need to move on. Let's go on to the next Western Conference play-in game. The number 9 seed Pelicans versus the number 10 seed Thunder. I think we're both probably going to have the same opinion. I think that the Pelicans should win this game.
I think this is a segment we can take the least time on because Pelicans, I think they're going to win by 10 to 15 points. However, I mean, just looking down the road for the next couple of seasons, I mean, this is the best case scenario for the Thunder. Whole year without Chet. I mean, Jalen Williams.
Oh, it's been an awesome year for the Thunder.
Played great. The fact that they're even here for this, just if they win, if Shea takes them to a playoff spot, I don't care if they get swept. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I mean, really Shea is. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be an All-NBA player. It's just, where is he going to be? I don't think with the new play-in or with the new All-NBA rules, he might not be first team. I had him first team in my early predictions before they changed it to positionless. I mean, I still think he's undoubtedly an All-NBA player.
Oh, 100%.
This has been an incredible year for the Thunder. I mean, I think that they're going to lose this game, and I don't really think that it's going to be much of a game. I think they could be okay. I just don't think there's going to be much doubt in anybody's mind. But this has still been an awesome year for the Thunder. Like,
100%.
Didn't have Chet Holmgren. They still have a plethora of picks. I mean, great year for the Thunder. I mean, so moving on to the next one, we both have the Pelicans winning the 9-10. So we have differing opinions. Or do you want to consider the Wolves?
I think we just agree that the
8?
Wolves lose the game.
Okay, so Pelicans
just
versus
for that sake.
Wolves. Who do you have getting the 8 seed then?
I mean, they just played 2 days ago. Was a great game. Pelicans they had to lead the whole game. Wolves won down the stretch. As much as I hate to say it, even though I want them to win versus the Lakers, I do think the Wolves are going to end up beating the Pelicans.
I mean, they did it yesterday, or not yesterday, but I guess it would have been. We're recording this Monday night, so as of today, yesterday, they did beat the Lakers, or not the Lakers, the Pelicans, without Jaden McDaniels for half the game, without Rudy Gobert. But I don't know. I think Brandon Ingram's going to have a really good game. I got to take. I'm going to take the Pelicans. Statistically, every single year that there's been the play, and I'm not counting the COVID year, the bubble year, but for the past 2 seasons, there's always been one seed that has been a 9 or 10 that has jumped into the playoffs. The first year it was the Grizzlies. They beat the Warriors. Then last year,
it was the Pelicans.
Yeah, it was the Pelicans.
Because they beat the Clippers.
Statistically, if you're looking at past numbers, there's going to be one team that jumps. I think the Wolves shot themselves in the foot in the last game of the season, and I think the Pelicans are going to be that team that jumps. You already have the Bulls, so I respect the opinion of the Wolves.
Of course you do, of course, and there's no shock there.
I hope the Bulls make the playoffs, even though they're probably going to get swept by the Bucks anyways. But I'm going to take the Pelicans over the Wolves in this game. Anyways, moving on to our next segment. I'm actually really excited for this segment. So I'm calling this segment Contenders or Pretenders. So we're going to go through all 10 teams in each conference that are in the postseason, and we're going to label them as Contenders or Pretenders. Now, there's going to be a third category. It's going to be just not contending because, like the Thunder, for example, they're not contending, but they're also not pretenders because they don't really expect to be contending this year. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. We're going to start. We started with Eastern Conference in the last segment. So this segment, we're going to start with the Western Conference. The Denver Nuggets, Toby. What do you think?
I would say...
Hold on. I want to specify for you and for viewers and for everything. Contending is not whether I think they'll win the conference, win some series. If I think they can legitimately win the championship, be raising the Larry O.B. at the end of the year, that'll be contenders. Sorry, Toby. Go ahead.
I mean, I feel like we've been saying this the past 3 or 4 years, but health permitting, as it stands right now, I do think the Nuggets are contending. I mean, this is the first time in multiple years that they actually have a healthy starting lineup. So, again, Michael Porter Jr. seems to get hurt every other month. But if they can stay healthy, I do see them as contenders this year.
Gosh, he's such a good shooter, too, when he actually does play. I mean, I love to go back and rewatch Michael Porter Jr. highlights where he can catch the ball anywhere and he can pull it instantly. He doesn't need to bring it back into the shooter's pocket. It's amazing.
It is crazy.
So you said contenders?
I would say contenders, yes.
I'm going to say contenders as well. They're not going to be my favorite out of the West. Are they your favorite out of the West? I want to both go over our favorites out of the West when we get to them. They're not my favorite, but I think they're contenders.
I would say they're my favorite out of the West.
Okay, so
I would.
All right, so Toby's got the number 1 seed of Nuggets as his favorite out of the West. Either way, we both agree that they are contenders. They have another MVP candidate on their team.
I would say so.
Yeah. I don't think much else needs to be said. Next up, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. I can go first on this one since I made you go first on the last one.
All right.
The Memphis Grizzlies, this is a tough one. I'm going to say they are not contenders. I'm going to say pretenders.
Okay.
I think that this is a team that, if they won a championship, it would not, surprise me. But if I had to put money on it, I would not say that the Grizzlies would win a championship. I mean, just look at these other teams in the West. I think they could make the finals, but I don't know. They still just have such a young team, and I know they've been there, done that. They've made the playoffs last year as a high seed, but they still didn't even make it past the second round. They lost in the second round. I think this is a team that could contend. They have a star player. There's been obviously off the court drama going on, but they have a team that can contend. I just don't think this is the year for it. Not trying to disrespect the Timberwolves, or I keep saying the Timberwolves, the Grizzlies. But also, we're going to go, as we keep going on, the team that I think they'll be playing the first round, the Los Angeles Lakers. That's going to be a really hard playoff matchup for them. And then they're going to have the Kings or the Warriors, and then probably the Suns or the Nuggets. So they're not going to have the easiest road. So I'm going to say Pretenders.
I would agree. I think great team, great in the regular season. I think they're still 1 to 2 years away from being contenders, in my opinion. Not for Ja. I mean, Ja's obviously their best player, but Bane is still developing. Great shooter, but I think, Jaren Jackson Jr., at least he's my pick to win Defensive Player of the Year. I think he will.
I have him there too.
But I think they're just a couple years away.
Mr. Trey J himself. But yeah, I have them close. And we all know from what you said earlier in the podcast, you're not a big Dylan Brooks guy.
I'm not. I mean, just too much media time. Not that good of a player.
Yeah. So next up, we have Sacramento Kings. Your turn to go first this time.
Not only is it my turn, but I would have pushed for that because I would like to say this to everyone listening and everyone who's not listening.
Oh gosh.
The Sacramento Kings in the West or the East are the most disrespected 3 seed.
I agree.
I have ever seen. I'm not even just saying it because they're the 3 seed. I'm saying it because this team. And I'll say this right now. This might, foreshadow what I'm going to say in the podcast later. The Kings are going to beat the Warriors in this series, okay? No one is talking about how much of a home court advantage that the Kings have, okay? You know what they're going to do? Game 1 in Sacramento? They're going to light the beam. And they're going to do that in Game 2 as well, okay? Now, when I was looking on paper, they were going to play either, the Suns matchup I would have hated. The Clippers matchup I was kind of hoping for. The Warriors I don't like from experience standpoint, but as far as playing, how the team plays, how can you not take the Kings? Which I fully expect you to disagree with that take about them versus the Warriors. But Kings, I still, after all that, I don't think they're contenders, but I do see them winning their first round matchup. So I would say pretenders.
Pretenders, okay. I'll preview that series later because that actually is spoiler alert. We're both choosing our favorite series in the first round. That's going to be my series I'm going to choose. But I honestly could not see an argument for the Kings to be contenders. I know that's crazy to say. I completely agree. They're super disrespected as a 3 seed. Everybody's pretty much saying whoever they play in the first round, they're done. But I actually do like this matchup against the Warriors. I'm not going to spoil anything. Like I said, I want to go deeper into this playoff series when we get there. But I'm going to say the Kings are pretenders. I was actually bouncing around between not contenders and pretenders, but I think Kings fans are excited. I think that they could legitimately see a road to the championship. I don't see it personally. I'm still going to say pretenders.
Okay.
I think also, did you see the thing earlier today? They came out that the Kings are selling, I think is an NBA record in price for first-round tickets. The Kings have missed the playoffs 16 years in a row. They finally get in.
I didn't see that, but that's crazy.
This is an NBA record for the most a first-round ticket has costed for the Sacramento Kings.
I mean, that's crazy. But
love that for the city. I love it for the city.
I love it too. I'm also not that shocked. For the couple of Kings games I've watched, that fan base, I mean, I don't know what the correct unit of measurement was for sound. No, I know this sounds crazy, but if you look, one of the highest in any sports stadium, any NBA stadium, was the Kings earlier this year when Kevin Huerter hit a 3 to win the game. I don't remember exactly what statistic it was.
You talking about decibels?
Decibels, yes. But, I mean, they went crazy. Y'all should. It was a good play.
But, yeah, I'm still going to say pretenders. The Kings are a fun team to watch. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, 2 guys that should be in conversations for an All-NBA team. I think the Kings are a fun team to watch. I don't think they're there, though.
I don't think so either.
Next up, we have the 4-seeded Phoenix Suns. My turn to go first. I'm going to go ahead and say this is my favorite to come out of the West. And I'm gonna say they're contenders, obviously. Like I said, favorite to come out of the West. Spoiler alert: I have them playing the Bucks in the finals, rematch of the 2021 NBA Finals, and I have the slight edge going to the Bucks right now. But I would not be surprised to see the series go anyway. The only thing that the Suns really lack is depth. But when you have a starting lineup like the Suns have, I mean, when you get to the playoff time, you're not running out of 10-man anyways.
No,
you're running out 7, 8. Kevin Durant's gonna play 40+ minutes a night.
I mean, I don't see any 2-3 in a lineup that can match up with Booker and Kevin Durant.
And I'll be honest, I have not looked back and looked at games that Kevin Durant has played in recently, but as of it was a week ago, maybe not quite that long ago, the Suns had not lost a game with Kevin Durant in their lineup. They were 6-0 when I checked.
No, they were still undefeated.
They still
by the time
undefeated,
the season
okay.
ended. When he was in the game, I
Yeah.
think the reserves might have lost the game at the end or something like that. But I will say this again. Quick side note.
Yeah, go for it. Your turn. Go for it.
Quick side note again. As far as the Suns go, even though this is their time to shine right now, I think they're contenders as well. Not much to say about it. But out of any team in the West, if Paul George comes back, now again, I think the Suns are very well going to win the series, and Paul George isn't rumored to play in the first or second game.
I saw first round.
Okay,
I saw he's missing.
Oh no,
the
I
first
didn't.
round.
No. At least from what I saw, it was
I
only
think
the
it came out
first
today.
two games.
I think it came out today. He's likely out for the first round.
Well, if he does play, Kawhi on Durant, George on Booker, might be the best chance any team in the West has to guard those two. Again, I still don't think George
guard,
on
I
Booker's very
agree.
good. Yeah,
I'll agree,
But
yeah.
Kawhi on Durant. Now again, Russ is playing good too right now, but I don't know. That would be a fun matchup to watch with a healthy PG.
And it sucks too because this series I think would be so entertaining. But
I agree.
losing PG, I still think it'll be a great series actually. But the 5 seed was the seed that nobody wanted. Everybody knew that the Suns were going to be the 4 seed going into the last day of the season. The Clippers had their destiny in their own hands. They could have gotten down to the 6 seed. The Warriors would have been the 5 seed.
Yeah.
And there's actually a clip that came out. Tyronn Lue was actually asking the scores for the Warriors games and for the Pelicans Timberwolves game. And I think that he decided to keep the starters in there and keep the foot on the gas because the game was still going on in the Timberwolves Pelicans game. So he wasn't sure if the Pelicans came back and won the game, the Clippers would have been the play-in.
Yeah.
And they would have played the Lakers. You don't want to do that by any means.
Not at all.
So he did choose to keep the foot on the gas, but obviously the Suns team was a team that everybody wanted to avoid. I think no matter whether you have them as the favorite to win the finals or whatever, I think that it's very hard to argue the point that they're not at least a contender.
Oh,
you don't
100%
have
contender.
the star power they have and don't label them as contender.
With Paul George out, I could borderline see them sweeping the Clippers. But from a series perspective, it is sad because if Paul George is healthy on paper, this is such a fun matchup to watch. Even the center matchup, I would love to see Zubac and Ayton.
Mr. Zubac, yes, sir.
The man is a rebounding machine.
Do you want to go ahead and talk about the Clippers then? Contender, pretender, or not contending?
I honestly think it's fully dependent on Paul George. And I'm actually close to 100% sure they just said for the early games in the series. But either way, I think
I'll look it up while you talk.
Okay, I think because from what I was hearing, if they split the first 2 games, Paul George will not play the third game and will start the fourth game. But either way, I think if Paul George comes back, I think this series legitimately could go 7 games because the Clippers are a very deep team. Coming off the bench already, you have Bones Highland and Norman Powell, which might be the best bench backcourt in the league. So I would honestly say this might be crazy. I think with a healthy Paul George, which they don't have, I would say they're contenders. And since they don't have a healthy Paul George right now, I don't really know what to call him because we don't know his health status.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. So I was wrong. He's projected to miss at least the 2 or 3 games.
Okay.
So there's a chance they're down 3-0 when he comes back. There's a chance they're not. There's a chance he doesn't come back in the first round. We don't know.
Yeah.
Regardless, we know he's missing time in this first round. Because of that, I'm going to say pretenders. I think that if Paul George was healthy, you can label this team contenders. If he comes back after Game 3 and it's a 2-1 series, either way, I think that they're absolutely contenders.
Yeah.
But as of right now, like I said, I think the Suns are the best team in the West. I don't know if the Clippers can get past the Suns without Paul George, honestly. And I think if they fell to that 6 seed that everybody wanted to play the Kings, I would label the Clippers contenders.
Oh, I would say so too.
I think they can hold their own against the Kings until Paul George comes back, and that's a series they can win. And then when their whole team's healthy, they can beat any team in the West. I'm not saying they would, but they can. But with the injury situation, and in my opinion, playing the best team in the West first round, I'm going to say they're pretenders.
Yeah.
They're borderline, though.
Yeah, last thing to add on them, though, I would say it's sad because, again, not a healthy Paul George. But let's just say if Paul George was healthy coming into this, not only from a starter perspective is this the most interesting matchup for the Suns, but I think this is the worst-case scenario from a bench standpoint because, they have no one that can guard Norman Powell, which is almost a shoo-in for 6th Man of the Year, maybe Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah, I think Quickly,
And
but
then
either way.
Bones Highland, they have such a quick backcourt. That'll be something to watch in the game to see how big of a lead their starters can jump out to, the Suns. But
Yeah, I think it'll still be a good series.
Yeah.
But the Clippers definitely need to hold their own until Paul George comes back. If they go down in a big hole, they don't have a chance of winning the series. The Suns are just way too stacked.
I would say so.
Anyways, moving on. Golden State Warriors. It's my turn to go first this time.
Yep.
I'm gonna have Golden State Warriors as contenders. I mean, while yes, it is concerning that they got the 6th seed and they could not win road games this year. I don't have the stats pulled up in front of me to see what their record was on the road. It was horrible. But I don't know. When the combination of Curry, Clay, and Draymond are all healthy, you cannot rule them out to do anything.
No.
And it does help. Well, I'm not going to make a prediction right now on Kings versus Warriors. That's for later in this episode. But I do think that they got the easiest of the higher seeds. I mean, obviously between Denver, Memphis, Sacramento, and Phoenix, I think Sacramento is the worst of those 4 teams. You can have your own opinion, but I think they did draw the right team. So I'm going to say contenders. I think that they're obviously going to need to win road games because they're not going to have home court advantage this year. Like probably throughout any series, they're probably always going to be the underdog.
So.
Well, that's not true. Maybe second round if the Lakers beat the Grizzlies.
True.
Either way,
True.
The Warriors are going to have to win road games. But I have them as contenders. They just won a championship. They were two wins away, even with a terrible road record, 2 wins away from being a 4 seed. I mean, I'm gonna have them as contenders, even though they are 6 seed. They're not my favorite by any means, but I'm gonna label them as contenders.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, aside from Booker and Durant in the West, I would say the hardest 2 people on a team to guard would definitely be Curry and Poole. I mean, if you look at what's going right for the Warriors, Klay Thompson just became, I don't know, he was like the 7th or 8th player in NBA history to hit 300 threes in a season. He's playing great, which I honestly
been really good.
I didn't see him actually ever getting back to the form he was.
He's still not.
But he's shooting the ball great.
Yeah.
Exactly. And again, I still fully believe the Kings will win the series, but if I'm the Warriors looking in the playoffs and who's struggled on the road, the biggest thing that's going to come down to who wins that series, I think, is going to be experience. And if the Warriors are going to win a road game anywhere, it's in Sacramento. I mean, that team's young. They get behind. I mean, so I think the Warriors have a lot to look forward to for that series.
So what did you label them as?
I think I have them as pretenders. I don't have them as contenders this year. Even though they won the title, I have them as.
I can see an argument either way.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say you're wrong. I personally have them contenders, but they are right on that line. You can label them either way.
They're just too much of a liability on the road.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Agree. Next up, 7 seed as of right now, and we still have the East to get through, so let's just talk about these playing teams very quick. We can spend a little bit more time on the 7 seed because the 7 seed is the Los Angeles Lakers. I know it's your turn to go first, but I'm going to go first. It's my podcast. I'm going to say the Lakers are contenders, which is crazy because you never think that a playing team is going to be a contender, but as tight as the West has been this year, I don't see how you can't label them as contenders. They've been on fire since the trade deadline. I think they've built a great team. They're actually healthy for once. Anthony Davis is, in my opinion, having the best year of his career. LeBron still looks like LeBron. He doesn't look like he's aged too much. Contenders. I think that they can go through. They can beat any team in the West, potentially. I have them as contenders. Not my favorite, but I would not be surprised if they won a championship. I'm going to say contenders.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about them. I think they're hitting all the right cylinders. I would label them contenders as well. I would agree.
All right, so moving on to the 8 seed. You want to take the Timberwolves first?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really need to talk about
I'll go right ahead, say they're not contenders. And I think it'll either be 4-1 or sweep. However, and this is why I really wanted them to beat the Lakers.
I don't even have them in the playoffs. So obviously, I think not contenders.
Yeah. But, going back to last year, at least in my opinion, one of the more exciting playoff series, it was 4-2, but the Timberwolves-Grizzlies series last year, Timberwolves were up by 20-plus in 2 of the games they lost. Now, again, I don't think they'd beat the Grizzlies, but I just don't like them at the 8 seed position. I would 100% say pretenders. And
I wouldn't even say pretenders. I'd say not contending.
Yeah, not whatsoever, yeah.
9-10, I'm going to say Pelicans and Thunder, just not contenders. You have anything to say about it? Or
I would agree.
All right, moving on to the Eastern Conference. First up, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. Toby, you can go first this time.
Giannis is the best player on earth, and they're contenders. There's not much to say. They're deep. Cohesively, their starting 5 might be playing than any other starting 5 in the league.
Your favorite to win the East, or you have a different team? Don't say who, but
you're not my favorite to win the East.
All right. The Bucks absolutely are contenders. They're my favorite to win the championship as of right now.
Okay.
Obviously, my favorite to win the East. They have, like you said, best player on earth. Drew Holiday's having the best season of his career, in my opinion. Middleton has not had a great year, but it is what it is. They have great depth. They've built the perfect team around Giannis. They have a great defense, and it's still an average offense.
Yeah.
Absolutely contenders. Moving on to the 2 seed, Boston Celtics. I will go. This time, Boston Celtics are contenders, in my opinion. Only one game behind the best record in the NBA, which is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Boston Celtics, they proved last year that they could contend. I thought they played a great series against the Warriors. Couldn't do it, but they've been to the conference championship several years with this core. I think that there's no way you could not say that they're contenders. I would not be surprised if they do get out of the East. I would not be surprised if they won a championship. I guess that's why I have them as contenders.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum is very good at basketball.
I would have to agree.
But yeah, I don't think there's much argument here. I think Boston Celtics contenders easy. What do you think?
This does happen to be
he's smiling. Oh, Toby's
my
smiling.
favorite to come out of the
Okay,
East.
all right. I thought you were gonna say pretenders the way you're smiling.
No,
I was like,
no. I'm just this team playing great right now. Tatum, I mean, not even top 3 in the MVP conversation, but
4th in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, first Celtic to average 30-plus points a game, had one of the best years of his career. I mean, he's been putting together a couple great years.
It's crazy because if this was like any year other than the past couple, like he could be an MVP in different seasons. He's having a great year, and he's 4th place this year. It's just shows how crazy the top 3 are. But anyways, keep going. Sorry.
100%. And now this might be a Tobey cold take moment, but I mean, I think Jaylen Brown is the best offensive player in the East for this playoffs to watch. I think this team is hitting right now. Robert Williams, best shot blocker in the league.
I should mute your mic, Toby.
So I would definitely say the Celtics are contenders in my favorite to win the East.
Next up, the 3 seed Philadelphia 76ers. Take it away.
I do think they're contenders. I think this is their last year to make a title run with the players they have.
Last year?
I mean, I think this is their last year.
Just depends on if Harden comes back.
They're not going to have Harden after this year.
I think they will.
Either way, I think they're contenders. I think they have the ability to make a deep run. They're probably going to choke again like they do every year. But I definitely see them as contenders with Joel Embiid, who, I mean, might win the MVP this year.
So, spoiler alert, this is my last team I have in the East as contenders.
Wow.
I think that it's really 1, 2, or 3 in the East. The West is so far up in the air. Every team is just neck and neck. The West, I think it's Milwaukee, it's Boston, or it's Philly. So this is my last team that is a contender. Let me get that straight. They are a contender in my eyes. This is the last team that I believe is a contender.
Okay.
So you already kind of touched on it. I'm going to move on. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rifle through these teams. Go ahead. If you have any more contenders, go ahead and talk about them, and then we can just rifle through the rest of these teams.
All right, this is going to sound really weird, okay? But
the Chicago Bulls, obviously. No, I'm just kidding.
No, this is going to sound really weird, but the last contender I have are the Cleveland Cavs, but I don't have them beating the Knicks in the first round series. I know that's crazy.
How are they contenders?
Because I like their team build-up, but I hate the Knick matchup.
They're just too young. I would have them as contenders as well, but they are far too young. So I'll go ahead and touch on them. I'm going to say they're pretenders. I think Cleveland fans think that they could win the championship this year. Donovan Mitchell is amazing. They have such a great young core. The problem is they've got a great young core, not a great experienced core. So I don't know. I think they've got a really good, talented team. I think, come 2-3 years from now, this might be one of the best teams in the East. But as of right now, I do not see them as contenders this year. I'm going to say pretenders. Let's move on. Do you have any other contenders, or do you just want to rifle off these last few teams?
I mean, no are the contenders, but I do see the Knicks beating the Cavs. I love this first-round matchup for them. I think...
Don't spoil your next segment. Toby wants to talk about this series in the next segment.
It's
so.
going to be a good... I'll wait.
I've got to hold it back.
I'll hold off.
So do you have any more contenders? Or
I don't know.
So I'll just shoot through my 5 through 10. Obviously, we spent a lot more time on the West. I think the West has a lot more to talk about, to be fair. Knicks, I'm just going to say, do people think the Knicks can contend? I'll say pretending. I don't know if people really think it. So I kind of want to say not contending, but I'll just say pretenders.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, not contending. I don't think people expect them to contend. Miami, not contend. I'll say pretenders. Some Miami fans might think they have a chance. I'm gonna say pretenders. I don't think they have a prayer to beat the Celtics.
Okay.
Hawks, not contending. Raptors, not contending. The freaking Bulls, not contending. Go on, Toby. You just want to rifle off these teams. So first off, Knicks.
Knicks, again, I think they can win their first round matchup. Definitely think they're pretenders. I don't think any other team bodes well for them in a matchup. I honestly have nothing else to say about any of the other teams except one. And we've talked about this.
God.
We've talked about this, okay? And now, this I'm not saying they're going to win the series, but if you remember a couple years ago, the Nets team that had a buildup of D'Angelo Russell and very much more importantly,
Jared
Dudley. Yes, sir. I think this Nets team is going to be exciting. I think they can pick up 1 or 2 games in the series. All I'm saying is, though, I think they're going to be the most exciting first-round team to watch. But
yeah, they'll be exciting. Toby, do you want to tell them what your potential gamble is that you're trying to convince people to do?
Let me just say this, okay? If you're looking to be set for life, okay, the Brooklyn Nets currently are plus 60,000 on DraftKings to win the title. I've been trying to convince Noah a mere $20 will pay out $12.5K. But
they're not going to win.
Hey,
so.
to each their own. But I think the Nets will be a very fun watch in the first round.
So we've kind of gone. The rest just not contending for you.
Yeah.
Not even pretenders, just not contending.
I would just say not contending.
Okay. So that's the end of that segment. Obviously, spent a lot more time on the West than the East. If you guys want to hear more about the East, just let us know, and we'll talk more about it. But let's move on to our last segment. We're going to cut out the MVP conversation. I feel like that's something we can talk about a different day.
Yeah.
But the last segment we're going to talk about on this one, I named it Grab Your Popcorn. So basically in this segment is each of us are going to pretty much choose our favorite matchup in the first round, give a quick preview, and give a real quick prediction. So you were already kind of on a rant about Cavs and Knicks. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go ahead and talk about mine first?
You can go first.
So my matchup, I kind of already said this, my matchup for what I believe will be my favorite first-round matchup will be the Warriors and the Kings. 3-6 matchup, and I am slightly upset. I say slightly. If you guys follow the Ruts podcast on Twitter, which we will link later, you guys know that I was very, very excited for a potential 4-5 matchup between the Suns and Warriors, but we're not going to get that. But I'm going to say the Kings and Warriors. I think the Kings are very disrespected. De'Aaron Fox is, a blast to watch. Domantas Sabonis is one of the best big men in the league, in my opinion. The Warriors are the Warriors. This is going to be a bloodbath. I think it's going to be great. I will be disappointed if this series does not go 6 or 7. My prediction is going to be the Golden State Warriors in 7. Would you like to add on that series?
I think it'll be a great series. I would be shocked if it doesn't go at least 6 games. I think the Kings are going to play well at home. I honestly don't know if the Warriors are going to lose a home game. That's why I see this game going 7. I think both teams are going to play great at home. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a great series.
So who do you got?
In that series, I got the Kings.
Kings in 7?
Kings in 7.
Okay. All right. Your turn. Go for it.
All right.
What's your series?
So, first off, I'm going to start with series-wise, it's Knicks versus the Cavs. But team-wise, I'm going to start off with the Knicks. Everyone, including myself, in the offseason, Jalen Brunson's getting overpaid. Jalen Brunson doesn't deserve this contract. Halfway through the season, people are saying he's underpaid. He's completely outperformed his contract. I think he's the Knicks' number 1 option. And possibly the best midseason signing, Josh Hart to the Knicks. He's the type of guy you want. Trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, he's the type of guy you want on your team. Decent on offense, great on defense. He'll die for any loose ball. And then combo that with Julius Randle and then Mitchell Robinson, who I think is a top 5 defensive center in the league when he's healthy, which again...
Top 5 might be a stretch, but he's very good.
Hey, come and go. And then you mash this again, a Cavs team, Donovan Mitchell, he's going to be the reason they win or lose. Most experienced playoff player in this series. Darius Garland, very underrated, very good player. Evan Mobley, who has a very bright future. I just think it's so evenly matched. I give the edge to the Knicks. I think it's going to be a fun watch. And honestly, I think we can both agree, any playoff series which you get to see a game in the Garden, it's wonderful to watch.
Last time I picked the Knicks in a playoff series was 4-5 a couple years ago.
Where's the Hawks?
Against the Hawks.
Yep.
I picked the Knicks to win that series, and they got crushed. I think they lost in 5. So I personally, it's great to watch the Knicks in the playoffs. Great to watch them in the Garden, like you said. I don't know if they can compete with this Cavs team. They've got a solid roster. But the Cleveland Cavaliers, like I said, I think are contenders a couple years away from being contenders. So I'm going to give this series, I'm going to say Cavs in 6. I could see Cavs in 5. I don't think it goes 7. Maybe I could be wrong. This Knicks team is a ton of fun to watch.
100%.
What you're saying about Jalen Brunson, I think it's the best player on this team. Julius Randle is having a great year. People were already saying he's the most overpaid player in the NBA after last season. And now this year, he's kind of gone back to what he was 2 years ago when he got the big paycheck. So Knicks are a lot of fun to watch. I got Cavs in 6 probably.
I have Knicks in either 5 or 7, but I didn't even touch on this. I touched on it a little bit earlier. Emmanuel Quickley, I mean, he could be the game changer in every game of this series.
Talked about Powell. Quickley's 6th man of the year. My pick for 6th man of the year. So
I still think it's gonna be Powell. I just think he's a lot more impactful, but Quickley is more like boom or bust. He can either go for like 40 or have like a quiet 10, whereas Powell's more consistent. But I'm telling you, Quickley can get that team going. I could definitely see Quickley being a huge piece in this series.
So I think that's all we got, Tobey. Do you have anything else you want to add, or any other talking points?
Not really. I think it's going to be an exciting playoffs. I think we can.
Oh, it's going to be great.
That.
Yeah, I'm thrilled, man, and we'll be back here next week. Obviously, Tuesday morning, like we will be every week. We're going to go over the first couple playoff games that have already been played. We're going to actually do our predictions for the rest of the playoffs. We're going to go through every single series as we predict. We're going to give how many games each team will take each other team. I don't know if that made any sense, but we're going to preview the rest of the playoffs is what I'm trying to get at. So once again, thank you guys for joining this first episode of the Ruts podcast. I'm thrilled to be doing this, and I'm excited to continue and move it on. Remember to follow us on whatever streaming platform you're listening on and rate us 5 stars. It does help the podcast grow. Follow us on socials. We have a Twitter at RutsPod, and if you want to follow my personal social, it's Noah Willard 8. Tobey, do you have anything that you might want to be followed on if anybody wants to hear more of your cold takes or whatever?
Well, for quality sports content, I have a Twitter, and for the ladies, I have a Snap. No, I'm just kidding. No, my Twitter is the Tobster724, and just some NBA, all types of sports content on there.
Yeah. So, thanks once again, Tobey, for coming on. I'm sure we'll see you again at some point, maybe next week. Who knows?
Hey.
Yeah, but anyways, we'll see you guys next week as we run up the score and discuss ongoing playoff action and preview the rest of the first round. Thank you guys for joining. We'll see you guys next week.